So Kanishk, how does it feel?
Well, of course, it feels very nice, very happy. I don't think there's any words to describe it, especially since I managed to clear both CLAT and IELTS. So we're very happy.
Yeah, would appreciate if you keep the mouthpiece so near. I know that you're so excited, and we would want to eagerly listen to you. Eagerly want to listen to the enthusiasm in your voice. So All India rank 4 in elite, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you think? How did you prepare? Were you very sure that you would get a single digit rank in the paper when you just gave the paper and came back home?
Ma'am, definitely not a single digit rank. I was quite confident when I finished the paper. I felt it had gone well.
Right.
Certain sections like maths were, of course, I felt, quite comfortable with math, but it was just about doing it on the exam day. And the math section, or even let it be the logical section, I felt quite confident once I finished that exam.
Right.
So I was expecting, a good performance and probably getting into NLUD, but a single digit rank is, it feels very nice.
That probably has turned to a surety now, I believe.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And what about the GK section? So all through the year, we've been, behind you for CLAT, for ELIT, and for other entrance examinations. So, did you ever feel कि ELIT के लिए preparation अलग होता है, CLAT के लिए अलग होता है, और मैं शायद एक pick करूँ, I should not give ELIT, or what was it like?
No, ma'am. I've never felt that way because some people might claim that AILET has a one-liner type approach and it's quite distinct from CLAT. Some people might feel that way, but what I personally believe is that when it comes to IELTS, both the exams are current affairs based.
True.
IELTS does have a bit of static, and people feel that probably differentiates it from CLAT. But the thing is, the static GK questions are all based on the current affairs. They're all related static GK questions. It's
Very
nothing
true.
abstract.
Very
So probably if you prepare for CLAT with the way you prepare for CLAT with a history of the whole issue, you understand the related topics very well. So that helps for AILET as well. It's nothing separate. It's about doing everything in depth and being able to revise and able to recall that in the exam.
Right, which brings me to the next question. You said that, it also requires that you understand the history of the topic and the other related stuff. So it brings me to the daily updates and event analyzed, wherein, we have the background, we have the linkages, we have the conclusion, we have the impact. So how much do you think that the daily updates and event analyzed were of use for such a good rank?
Ma'am, I feel they were extremely useful. The only issue I faced was that, the amount of content, the forward and backward linkages are so extensive that it's quite difficult to, do it on an everyday basis. And once you miss out on a day, some reason you miss out on some day, you feel, it's just a huge wave that's, suddenly hit you and you can't overcome it. But I guess we had a schedule, which I tried to follow to the best of my ability. I did fail quite often. I had to start over thrice. But then just revising it greatly helped. And as I already mentioned, both the daily updates as well as the event analyzed have such extensive forward and backward linkages, and they generate questions in your mind. So a good example would be, say, we had a topic on the Afghan peace process.
Right.
And there's a history of the Afghan conflict mentioned. So it starts with 1979 USSR invasion of Afghanistan. So that generally, you start thinking about why the invasion in 1979. It just mentioned 1979 invasion. So it makes you think as to what happened at that point of time. And then you go into the depths of the Cold War and who initiated the conflict. So it generates questions and makes you develop a deeper understanding of it. And that kind of understanding is what is actually tested probably in the static section of AILET. So they're all related. There's nothing distinct about the two exams.
Right. So it is as good as, जैसे अब छोटे थे तो we used to study for maths or any other subject. अब maths में 15 chapters NCERT में है. अब उसमें से 1 mark questions भी बन सकते हैं, 2 mark भी बन सकते हैं, 3 mark भी बन सकते हैं, 4 mark भी बन सकते हैं. Anyways, the concept is concept. If you understand volume of a sphere, you can get a formula based question, you can get an application based question, a concept tester question, a concept builder question. So things go on and on. So yeah, which brings me to the revision. So you said that, having that same material and then revising it again and again is very important. So any rough number as to how many times did you revise the whole syllabus?
Ma'am, it actually varied for different months. You need to prioritize a few months. Going by like the previous CLAT pattern, you realize that, they want a more recent approach to the GK section.
Right.
October, November, I picked it up from October, November, all the way up till July.
The more recent months.
Yeah, the more recent ones. So October, November, December, I just managed to do it once or twice, the revision. January to say March, I managed to do around 4 or 5 times.
Right.
And the rest of the months, which were far more recent, I was able to, retain them better. So probably just thrice or 4 times, not more than that.
Okay. So probably I think what you mean to say is that for revision, this can be a tailor-made number for everybody.
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
So if, there is a month that you feel is more important in terms of static data, and then you are catering to an exam which would cover more of the static information, which we felt CLAT would not, but this time it even had. So so the students might prioritize that way. And the other is when, if I am a student who is very weak in geopolitical issues, and if there has been 1 month wherein these many events of geopolitical issues have happened, which have never happened. So I think I would have to revise that month more as compared to the others. So daily updates, event analyzed ka to we did. How about the GK Sarthi and 250 MCQs? Kuch usme se aisa laga ki, things were straight from those or GK shorts?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that, of course, I did do all of them. But it's just that, certain questions in CLAT, of course, some people said that it's weird and all of that. But I felt that almost all the questions were there from the Manthan or the GK shorts or the 250 MCQs, because it was pretty extensive. And certain things were, in the 250 MCQs were beyond what I could actually, retain in my mind. So probably the questions which I probably missed out in, say, CLAT or AILET in the GK section were probably because I couldn't recollect, rather than them not being there in the prescribed material which was there. So it's probably because I couldn't remember them, or probably I didn't study them properly, but it's not that it was not there or I couldn't have learnt them any day.
I actually, when I'm talking to you, I see, constant smile on your face. The sense of achievement that somebody has accomplished something which should certainly be there. So as you said that you tried to stick to a strategy which was mentioned probably by Mehka ma'am, but then you failed many a times. Then you still tried to cope up with it. Then you again failed many a time. So probably you made a tailor-made strategy for your own and then left it in the hands of Almighty. So any point of time during the whole year when you thought ki ab nahi hoga, let's leave it, and if that happened, how did you cope up with that anxiety?
Ma'am, that happened close to like 3 times, let's be very honest, especially with the boards. And, it's very disheartening when you miss out on a day of GK. And it's, as I said, it's a flood. You just feel that it's just gone above you. You just cannot handle it anymore.
And it's very unpredictable, maths ka, other things you can, quantitative and legal, etc. You still have a syllabus. GK mein there is no syllabus. There will never be a syllabus.
That's true, ma'am. So especially after my pre-boards, I used to have that feeling, because during the pre-boards, I used to miss out on GK a lot because I used to be focusing entirely on the school syllabus. But, at one point of time, when I used to speak to my friends, most of them used to say that, probably we've missed out. They were also feeling the same way. And you just realize that it's not about, being perfect with that schedule and, implementing it to the word. It's about that effort which you put in. So let's say if you miss out on a day, it's not the end of the world. You might feel disappointed, but it's just about putting in that extra effort on the next day to cover what you missed. There were many times when I started, I was very serious from say Jan, I guess, with GK. So I had to do October, November, December in the period in which people were doing Jan. So I used to put in like close to 3 hours on GK just with news canvas. And then of course I had to do the newspaper, then I had to do the Manthan, all of that. It's about coping up with what you've left behind and putting in that effort. It doesn't make sense to say that you need to be perfect. Each one day you miss, that's the end of your preparation. That's just wrong to say it. It's about how much effort you put in to cover up what you missed and not giving up till the end.
Right, right. So taking mandatory breaks, I think you suggest that, but then you don't suggest that, take a permanent break because you think कि अभी नहीं होगा. Give it a try since you've been trying. Kanishk, how many sessions have you attended? Did you attend my sessions, by the way?
Oh, yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, so because I try to involve so many anecdotes and humor and all that stuff. So yeah, I remember in one of the sessions, I don't know whether you attended or not. So towards the end of the session, there are comments that keep pouring in, So there was one ki mujhse nahi hoga. This is the exact wording that I'm telling you, mujhse nahi hoga. So I just asked the person to telegram me personally, and then I had a word with that student, that aspirant. एंड आई जस्ट टोल्ड हिम कि देखो अभी गंगा जी में सोच लिया था कि डुबकी लगानी है, अभी हरिद्वार में बिल्कुल सामने खड़े होके गंगा जी के आप कह रहे हो कि आपको नहीं करने का है बिकॉज यू जस्ट पुट इन योर टो एंड यू रियलाइज कि बहुत ठंडा पानी है, इट्स ऑलरेडी माइनस, बाहर टेम्परेचर माइनस में है. सो दैट्स नो पॉइंट. अभी आ गए हो, अभी पुण्य कमाना है तो एक बार डुबकी मार लो, फिर देखी जाएगी जो भी होगा. सो the person now, the aspirant, I would not want to name the aspirant, has a very good rank in CLAT. So getting null sir. So that's the story. Everybody has a topper story. So you said that you were talking to your friends and then you were in constant touch with your friends. So any study buddies that you made?
Ma'am, I generally didn't find that concept very appealing.
Okay.
Because how do I say it? It's just that I generally have this tendency not to limit myself to a very closed group of friends. I tend to talk to everybody, and I have a very wide friend circle. So the almost all the people at the center, barring like a few people who are who joined late, I probably didn't know them, but we used to keep in touch just to see how the rest were doing. And then there's the advantage that when you're in the same center and you have like a personal connection, there's no scope for that toxic atmosphere which generally develops in large groups of hiding it from other people and then not
the
revealing your marks. So,
unhealthy competition.
Yes, ma'am. So that group of friends which we had, it's not anybody in particular or excluding anybody. It's just that the whole atmosphere which we had with a bunch of people, say around 20, 30 people, that was really great because we all got to know our flaws. We got to know where other people are getting stuck, and we could help each other out as well.
Right. So now since, the environment of that 2-hour paper, 1.5-hour paper, we as News Canvas team try to incorporate that in the sectional test that we've been providing. So did you attempt the sectional test? Did you find them useful? And how did they prepare you for the examinations that you took place?
Yes, ma'am. So as with regard to the sectional test, I did not take the sectional test separately, but with every daily update, I had a notebook in which I was writing it down. Obviously, we all do it. And then some topics were very important, which I had a list of.
Right.
So in those topics, at the end of each update or each event analyzed, you have a set of questions which are given there.
Right.
So
5 each. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So some of those questions you see would require a fair bit of research and looking at the question from somewhere else and then answering. It might not be given directly in the update or the event analyzed. So I looked at them specifically. And then most of the questions which were there in the sectional tests were covered in those set of questions. So those questions, I used to write them down in the notebook and I used to thoroughly revise them. Yeah. So that's the way I, practice those questions. And since they're far more elaborate than what's directly given in the update, it widens your knowledge of the topic as well.
True. We actually try to give a thesis ka environment. Pura PhD करवा देते हैं हम आपको एक साल में. Before even getting to graduation, we give you that PhD wala feeling. So yeah. So what do you think? 2022 aspirants के लिए, what should they do? What should they not do? Any mistakes that you think you committed? Although I don't feel that you committed after having an interview with you wherein you got so good rank. I'm so happy for it. But any suggestions for 2022 aspirants?
Ma'am, I wouldn't say I didn't commit any mistakes. I did quite a few. So one thing is, as far as GK is concerned, don't be too harsh on yourselves. It's a subject which has very high risk and low return. I'm not saying that it's not a scoring subject. You just take 5 minutes and you get 20, 25 marks, which is a huge thing in any competitive exam.
True.
It's only about putting in that kind of effort which the subject demands. It's the kind of respect that subject requires. Newspaper is a must. There is no way you are skipping that. Of course, the newspaper is not very concentrated in the content. So that is the reason you require something like News Canvas or the Manthan, because you need to be able to recap it. So I remember being very clearly told, don't do stuff that you can't recall, because it's just clutter.
Right.
So it's also important about, cutting out some stuff which might not be very relevant. So some things might be, very specific. I've seen some people, they learn the CRPC sections. They're like, this judgment came in this year. That's not the kind of information that the person wants to test. They're just testing the kind of effort you've put in and the amount of knowledge and the capacity to acquire that knowledge that you have. So it's all about putting in that effort and having a conceptual clarity. There's no issue, just mugging up stuff without understanding what it is.
Exactly.
Because even once you get into law school, people are not bothered about your ranks. It's just about how much of a conceptual clarity and your ability to interact with people
and at
that
the
matters.
end, your opinion matters. True.
Yeah. So it's about getting that conceptual clarity. And once you get a conceptual clarity, I feel that you won't have to memorize anything at all. So there were certain questions in even CLAT where, you don't, I actually didn't remember them. But since you have a conceptual clarity, you get that, this is the sequence of events. This is why that thing happened. You can make a very educated guess, which you get right about 80 to 90% of the time. So that's it. So do the newspaper, be very diligent about current affairs, because the subject demands a lot of respect. And of course, don't lose hope and do revise it properly. That's very important.
Wonderful, wonderful. I believe, Kanishk, you've got into your dream college.
Yes, ma'am.
And how happy are your parents now?
Oh, of course, they're very happy. I must say that the CLAT exam was not something I wrote on my own. My parents wrote it with me.
Oh, that's a very, very beautiful takeaway statement from this interaction that I have been having with you. So yeah,
it's been a collective effort. They're very happy, overjoyed to say the least. And of course, there's nothing more we could have asked for from the exams, especially after the boards got cancelled. That was a bit of a heartache.
But I think that was a blessing in disguise. You got more time to study.
Oh, it definitely was, ma'am. But in hindsight, it does seem like a blessing. But at that point of time when you're preparing, it seems very easy to sit here and say that, blessing in disguise, you can do it, 50-50% balance. It's difficult. But at that point, you realize that this exam is a competitive exam at the end of the day. It's very fickle. It can go any way. It might be your day and you might get a AIR1, or it might just go terribly wrong and you might not get a rank at all. So it's about just being positive and not, losing what you actually want. So when the boards actually got cancelled, you feel that, that stability which your board marks could have provided is not there. So that probably hurted me. But then, of course, as we now say, it turns out to be a blessing in disguise. And without that break, probably we could not have achieved or got the marks that we've got today.
Right. Anyways, all's well that ends well. And, everything that happens for good. We've been listening to all of these. And probably itna philosophy ki wajah se hum logon ne GK Sarthi hum leke aaye the. Because anyways, we all turn into good poets because logic itna zyada lagne lag jata hai that at times we need to expel our creative juices. I am so thankful, Kanishk, that you spent your precious time with us. And you guided the 2022 aspirants as well. I got to know your journey. I've actually, been very curious to know, and thank God I got a chance to witness that from you. Any last words that you would want to say for the whole team of News Canvas?
Ma'am, has been extremely beneficial doing the whole News Canvas thing. It's so concentrated and you get a whole lot of information which otherwise you would have to do on your own. It's about getting it at one place, which really helps. And of course, content anybody can provide, but providing that kind of support, because there was some place you have a review meeting as well, where I had a conversation with the Mehka ma'am, and then she told me about the schedule. I had missed out a lot in between, and she gave me a schedule to follow. I still remember that schedule. I didn't follow it to the word, but it gave me a sense of what I had to do.
We are always behind you. We are so happy that you're always behind you. I keep pestering people to watch YouTube videos. So yeah, but that's the case. Sorry, you were continuing.
Yeah. So the support that I received was really great. The group which we had, lots of people discussing lots of stuff. That kind of atmosphere is kind of hard to replicate. And then you were always available for any kind of input that we had to give. I still remember I made a suggestion about giving us more daily updates.
Right.
It was just one at one point of time, and then we said, "Ma'am, we need 3 or 4 because some
Right.
important events were getting missed out at some point." And then immediately, probably from the next day itself, we had 3-4 daily updates. It added to the workload, but just getting to know that the other end has some very dedicated people who are working really hard to provide all that content for us makes you really want to work hard.
I thank you so much. The reason why I asked this question was to earn a lot of praise. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I wish you all the very best, Kanishk. God bless you. And I hope that you will be all ears when we need you with the 2022 aspirants in order to guide them if they fall astray.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you, Kanishk. God bless. And all the very best.
Thank you so much, ma'am.